on stage, in film, everything. But I don't know if anybody really knows who you are. So give me a little background on Norm.
Let's see, I was born a poor black child. I was born in Tallahassee, and my parents lived in Chattahoochee, Florida. I know. Chattahoochee, C-H-A-T, I don't know, something like that. And just, it's near Tallahassee. And then about a year after I was born, my mom had to go and find another job. She was a teacher. And I think back in the day, they didn't give maternity leave for teachers. I think that was a big deal. So she ended up coming down to Orlando area and found a teaching job. My dad and my sister and brother stayed in Chattahoochee for about another 6 months, and then finally migrated down there. My dad owned his own company, so that worked out great. And then we just developed a life down in Orlando, and we finally moved to Eatonville, Florida, which is the oldest black chartered municipality in the United States. Thank you very much.
Wow.
Zora Neale Hurston wrote Their Eyes Were Watching God. That's about that little town. And I had a fantastic childhood, really. It was this beautiful black community where I played tennis, and it takes a village. My parents gave permission to my neighbors. If I got out of line, they could beat my ass. Oh, can we say ass?
Yeah, you can say it.
Okay.
It's okay.
And so it was just a beautiful community, church going, we had barbecues and then finally moved to go off to college. I went to a community college called Lake City Community College right outside of Gainesville, then came back home and went to a small school called Rollins College, worked for the Orlando Sentinel in advertising for a while. And then because I sang, I would sing at night or different contests or different bands, and someone saw me perform. He was a producer for a cruise ship. He said, "I need someone like you on my cruise," and that's how I got into this business.
I never would have been able to see you on a cruise. I get motion sickness. I cannot do it as much as I want to. So the voice came first and the acting second.
Yeah, I sang in church. My dad was a deacon and my grandfather was a preacher, so it was a rite of passage. I was just, we made a joyful noise, and I didn't know if I had a voice. No one ever really gave me accolades for it. But then in high school, someone said you should get into the choir department, and that's what I did. And I thought it'd be an easy grade. I thought I'd meet some girls, and it ended up happening. It became my aha moment, and I started listening to classical music and Broadway, and that's kind of how I formed this love for what I do now.
First time you stepped on stage in a musical. What was that like?
It was fun. So I will say when I got my first solo in high school, that was like, okay, because people came up to me saying, "Man, you got a nice voice." Then finally I got into a theater piece, Pearly. You know the show Pearly?
Yes.
I was in the ensemble at this local theater and met some amazing people, and it just opened my eyes to this new world of performing and just loving what that was. Then I got to do The Wiz that summer in the same theater. And
Who were you in The Wiz?
I was many different things because it was such a small ensemble. I was a munchkin, I was the head gatekeeper, I was the head monkey.
I was going to say, were you one of them winged monkeys?
I was a winged monkey.
Because on Broadway, those costumes for the winged monkeys were like, okay.
Yeah, crazy. But we had a smaller budget, so we didn't have all that. But what I will say is, it was, The Wiz was actually my foray into the musical theater world. I listened to that album with Stephanie Mills and Andre DeShields, and it was amazing.
Yeah, my favorite character was Ben Harney's Scarecrow.
Yeah.
Oh God, when he hit that note, yo, yes.
Yeah.
I can't sing, but I mean, it's in Shivers through my belly.
And Ben Harney, listen, his history. He played Curtis in Dreamgirls. He was the original.
Yes.
Fantastic.
Yes, love him. Okay, now let's get around to some of your serious stuff. Like, we got to talk about the Soldier's Play.
Soldier's Play. What do you want to know? There's so much.
I
There's
don't
so
know.
much.
Have you ever played it before?
No,
This
this
is
is
your
my
first time.
Yeah, and I had not even seen it. I saw the movie back in 1980, whatever, but I had not seen the play, and so this was amazing for me to be in this historic Pulitzer Prize winning Charles Fuller piece and to be directed by Kenny Leon.
So when you got the call that said, okay, we want you to come, did you have to audition? You don't have to audition anymore.
I still do audition. For this, I was asked, thank God. And Kenny Leon was, I have to give him praise for that because we've been friends for a long time. And he thought of me and he said, would you be interested in doing this? And I jumped at the chance to work with him because we've never worked together. We've only known each other. So.
Well, for people who don't know what the play is about, give us a synopsis.
It's a murder mystery, and it's about these men that are in the army at World War II, and black soldiers, and wanting to fight, but they're at this particular southern camp compound that, and the struggles that they have to go through. It talks about a lot of racism. It talks about a lot of self-hatred. It talks about brotherhood, and just the willingness to better themselves, or at least think that they're bettering themselves so they'll be accepted into this white society. And it's interesting because all of those elements are touched on in this play, and again, surrounded by this murder mystery. And then I'm this guy who comes in who is a captain, which is unfounded at that time, and a lawyer. So these white counterparts are seeing someone like me for the first time. My black soldiers are also seeing someone like me for the first time. So there's a lot of responsibility, there's a lot of accountability that goes into this play.
And folks, it isn't exactly what you think it is as you're watching it. When you get to the end, it's a little different than what you meant.
Yeah, without giving away the story, it's reflective of what is a lot of things that have happened in the past couple of months in 2023. Mm-hmm. It really is, and it's so interesting how history just keeps repeating itself.
I know, it's crazy because written back then, you see it today and it's just as fresh. But what part of that script, when you were reading it, put shivers in your belly?
Whew, let me see. Again, there's different elements to that, but without giving away too much. I tell you what I will do. I'm going to answer your question in a different way. Mm-hmm. What really was eye-opening for me was the way that Charles Fuller wrote. This whole show is my telling of my experience at Fort Lee in Louisiana. Fort Neal in Louisiana. And then you have moments of me interrogating, trying to find out this murder, of them giving their account of the story, of their experience with the person who has been murdered, Sergeant Waters. So the beauty in seeing the flow of that, like I'm on stage interrogating someone, they're telling me their account, but it's being played out, and they are in the scene as they're telling me this. So you got to come and see it, especially the way that Kenny Leon staged this. It's just beautiful, and every night I find new nuances that just like, oh, that's something new. That's great, yeah.
Keeps it interesting.
Keeps it interesting, yeah.
You have made history several times in theater, being the first black
Phantom of the Opera?
Phantom of the Opera, but also...
Oh, Javert?
Yes,
Les Miserables?
yes.
Yeah.
So, I don't want to say what was that like, but what was that like?
What was that like? Well, with Phantom, for me, I had been coveting that role for 20 years. I saw it back in 1994 in Toronto. I was doing a show up there. And I first saw Colm Wilkinson, who was fantastic, but I just said to myself, I want to be in that show, and I want to play that part. And then every time I would get interviewed, people would say, what's your dream role? And I would say, the Phantom. 20 years. So I put it out there in the ethos, and finally someone heard me. So one of my really close friends was playing the Phantom at the time. He was not going to renew his contract. So that gave a foray into that audition. And I just remember being at the Majestic Theater where it's playing now. We'll be closing soon. But I was in the wings, getting ready to go on stage in front of Hal Prince and a lot of the other creatives who initially created this entire story. And I felt the souls of my mentors, whether it's William Warfield, Paul Robeson, but even people who were alive, like Andre DeShields, and I'm just trying to think of all these great names, but I said, Robert Guillaume, who was the original Black Phantom in Los Angeles, and I heard them say, "Go get it." And from that, it was almost audible. I went out there, I sang my ass off. Can I say ass? I sang.
You can say whatever you want to.
I sang myself off.
Digital radio, okay?
I did my thing out there. And I said, I can't do more than this. I left it out there, and I said, I hope and pray I get it. But if they don't want me, it wasn't because I didn't give my best. And found out that like a couple of days later that I got the role. And that snowballed into me being the first African American to play the role, which was great. And I still love that title, and I praise that title and honor that title. But for me, I would meet people after the show who were from Italy, who were from India, from Brazil, saying, now I feel like I can do it, because they saw someone that was representing them, a person of color.
You know, and it's important because I remember when I took my niece to see Beauty and the Beast,
Right.
and there was a Black gentleman playing the Beast.
Mm-hmm.
And at the end, when he took everything off and you could see who he was, she looked at me and her eyes were just so wide, and she goes, Bonnie, he's Black.
Yeah.
I felt that way when I saw a Black Phantom, and I think it might have been you.
Oh, well, if it was on Broadway, it was me.
Yeah, because we did go see it on Broadway.
That's me.
That was you.
That's, I'm the
See,
one and
I
only.
knew
I'm
you.
the one and only.
I saw you before. I knew you before. You know, all of this happened. Norm, how do you stay so down to earth? Because you really are.
Well, wow, that's very sweet for you to say. I guess it's from my parents and my spiritual background. It's all about, we're all one. No one's better than anybody. I might be able to sing and I'm on stage, but you know what? And so what? And I love meeting people. I love getting to know people, and that's what this is all about. I worked in advertising for a long time, and I was talking to one of our colleagues that's standing behind the camera right now. We were talking about this earlier, how if you make it about the other person, then there's a relatability. And we did that when I worked in advertising and marketing. So, that's strategic, but it's a human element. So, and I just love people.
Well, my last question.
Last?
Well, I got
Where
to
you
go
going?
because I have my good friend ready to come on in here and do his thing, and you're gonna love him.
Oh, really? He's
yeah,
okay?
you're gonna love
He
him.
cool people?
He cool people.
Okay, all right.
You're gonna
all right.
love him. But you've been in Chicago.
Yeah.
You've done Chicago, man. What is it about Chicago that kind of gets your heart pumping?
Well, it reminds me a lot of New York, but it's cleaner. And I got really good friends here. I love food, so the restaurants here, there's nothing better than I've been to the Taste of Chicago.
Yeah.
Come on now. I hope I don't gain too much weight and get out of my, blow out of my costume while I'm here, because the food is great.
Well, you got to, because the weather. In Chicago, we kind of bulk up.
Yeah, y'all
See,
know how
that's
to
why
do
I
it.
look like this. Now you come back in September. Oh, I'm gonna be
Snatch.
Oh, baby,
Yeah,
bye.
because you already snatched.
Oh, but don't even do that.
Am I flirting?
Yeah,
I
that's
shouldn't
okay.
be
You
doing
can,
that. I can do that.
You can do
I
that.
don't want the Me Too movement.
No, you can flirt all you want
Okay.
to. Mommy Dearest will take it. So everybody, you gotta come and see Norm in a soldier's play.
Yeah, please.
Not only is he fine and can sing, you don't sing in this though. Do you?
Listen, surprises may happen. You never know.
Oh.
You never know.
Okay, well y'all gotta come and check him out.
Yes.
Because not only is he fine, not only is he talented, but he's a wonderful person.
Thank you. That's very sweet.
Okay, everybody keep your eye to the sky.
Yes.